On tonight's episode of Open Road with Doug McConnell and Friends, we'll visit one of California's wildest, least known frontiers, full of beauty and endangered species. Just beyond the bustling Bay Area lies one of California's wildest, least known frontiers. It contains one of the largest uninterrupted stretches of open space in all of California and is home to some of the rarest species in the state.
The California condor, mountain lions, tule elk, the largest concentration of nesting golden eagles on planet Earth.
Spanning over 3.5 million acres, the Diablo Range is one of the last great wild places in the state, yet most have never heard of it, stepped foot here, or seen its rugged beauty. But this landscape isn't just beautiful, it's essential.
It's so important for us right now at the time of the climate crisis to really learn about these places, see what is actually still here flourishing, and get out there and protect them now because, species every day are disappearing.
For decades, Save Mount Diablo has focused on one mountain, but as the stakes have grown in recent years, so has their vision.
We simply have to do more, and we have to think bigger, and we have to think about whole natural systems. And when whole natural systems are mostly protected, they're more resilient to change and the stresses of the climate crisis. So this was a primary reason that Save Mount Diablo expanded its geographic scope to cover the entire Diablo Range.
The 200-mile Diablo Range stretches from the eastern Bay Area all the way down to the Salinas Valley. It's a massive amount of pristine and undeveloped land, and its importance in sustaining a myriad of native and endangered species cannot be overstated. No area more important than San Benito County.
San Benito County is the single most important piece and the biggest piece of the Diablo Range. It's got the biggest watershed, it's got the tallest mountain, San Benito Mountain, in the entire Diablo Range. And a lot is going to be happening here, both in terms of land use politics and in terms of acquisition and preservation in the coming decades.
San Benito County sits just southeast of the San Francisco Bay Area, nestled between the southern end of the Diablo Range and the northern edge of California's Central Coast. Save Mount Diablo's Ted Clement, Sean Burke, and Seth Adams have been spending time in San Benito County to familiarize themselves with this area that they are now deeply committed to protecting.
We're proud of our ability to think big and then to begin to execute that. And again, I think in the times that we live in, it's required of us.
Today, they're taking me on a tour of the county, showing me just a sampling of what's here, starting at the mission in the town of San Juan Bautista.
We're at the historic Mission San Juan Bautista here, and there's a 20 or 30 foot drop from the level of the mission down to the flat, fertile farmlands behind me here, and that's because we're literally standing on the San Andreas Fault.
The fault is the force that has created this dramatic landscape, lifting the Diablo Range skyward and carving out the valleys below, creating some of California's most fertile farmland.
There are more than 800 ranches over 5,000 acres. Some of them are 65,000, 75,000 acres in size. So there's a huge potential for conservation progress with conservation easements, working with ranchers, adding new parks.
Currently, most of the undeveloped land here is privately owned, with very little public access. One of Save Mount Diablo's goals is to make more of it available to all of us.
This is one of the 10 or 15 most important outdoor spots in San Benito County.
One of the few accessible spots is the nearby historic Anza Trail.
This is actually a 4-mile segment of the Anza Trail from San Juan Bautista to the Salinas side of the hills over here, and it's probably the best used trail in the entire county outside of Pinnacles.
The trail follows the footsteps of Spanish explorers who first passed this way in the 1700s, linking Mexico to what would become California. through open grasslands leading to sweeping views of the San Juan Valley and distant peaks of the Diablo Range.
Fremont Peak, beautiful place.
Another spot open to the public lies just a few miles south at Fremont Peak State Park, known for its big views.
Wow, look at this.
And according to Sean, a place where endangered California condors are sometimes spotted.
I'm hoping we see some condors. Apparently they perch up here a lot on top of the tower.
Once soaring in the thousands across the West, California condors nearly vanished by the 1980s, brought to the brink of extinction by lead poisoning. At one point, just 27 birds remained in the world.
So Pinnacles National Park has had this program to rehabilitate these animals for decades. And this just happens to be one of the highest concentrations of condors on Earth. And this is their main thoroughfare that they travel through the Diablo Range. And they're able to track their flight patterns through the range with these GPS transmitters. And what we're doing with that information is we're able to see where these birds are going out of Pinnacles. And in fact, they've actually flown as far north as Mount Diablo multiple times in the last few years.
The increasing numbers and widening of their range is a good sign for these giant birds. It's one of the most remarkable comeback stories in wildlife conservation. But condors aren't the only endangered species in the region. Other animals are at risk too, including a small but charismatic creature also in need of human help. Blunt-nosed leopard lizards, once widespread here, have suffered a dramatic decline in recent decades. They once flourished in the Pinoche region, but now are down to a fragile few.
This is this 15-inch lizard, can jump in the air, run on two legs, flashy sort of leopard spots or stripes. If you have the chance to bring something back from the brink of extinction, how can you not grab it?
In an attempt to prevent the leopard lizard from disappearing from the region, the Fresno Chaffee Zoo, in collaboration with federal and state agencies and with support from Save Mount Diablo, initiated a captive breeding program in 2020.
So these young lizards are literally being released back into the wild with little radio telemetry backpacks that'll allow every one of them to be monitored and to watch the survival of the population that's being supported there.
Time of release, 12:44. Watch out for predators, little guy.
Protecting these animals and the land they inhabit throughout the Diablo Range is going to be a massive undertaking and will require collaboration.
The Diablo Range is too big an area for one organization to take responsibility for.
To achieve these conservation goals, Save Mount Diablo is employing several strategies. First, limiting development up and down the range by supporting critical ballot measures.
So we're using our great advocacy efforts to help things like Measure A pass, which passed last year, a slow growth measure.
They're working on legislation to designate the Diablo Range as an official conservation priority and organizing an annual convening of conservation partners.
And we'll be doing that as an annual event for years to come because it's what it's going to take to protect the Diablo Range.
They're also partnering with local grassroots organizations, such as Protect San Benito County, that have been successfully working to limit development and protect open space.
We really need to accelerate the level of protection in this county, and that's why we really wanted to work with Save Mount Diablo. We share that vision.
It's really important to protect this county because it's one of the most beautiful counties in the state. It's just an amazing place, and it's close to the Bay Area. The same thing that puts us at risk also makes it a great opportunity for people to come out and see what the Old West once was. It's right here, it's close, and it's unforgettable.
Before the sun sets on our tour of San Benito County, Seth drives us east up into the range to show us one last place, and it is Unforgettable.
This is, I gotta say, you told me about this place. You said we gotta go to this place. This place is stunning. It really is jaw-dropping.
This dramatic landscape of jutting volcanic peaks and lush rolling hills is known as Quien Sabe, private ranch land used primarily for cattle grazing. It's wild, remote, and remarkably untouched. Another example of the undiscovered beauty within the Diablo Range.
The idea that we could come in the 21st century and start a whole big conservation project where people had done bits and pieces here and there, but nobody had thought about working on the entire thing is just mind-boggling. This is San Benito County. This is what San Benito has to offer, and it's as sensually and spectacularly beautiful as any place in the state.